Hey everybody, it's Tim here again. We're with Social Bakers in our coding corner. Today I've got Michal Brašna with us today. He's one of our architects here at Social Bakers. And there's been a burning question on my mind, so I figured I'd pull someone in who has some good experience and ask them. But first, would you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Okay, so hi, my name is Michael, as Tim already said. I'm here for the last 5 years. I work as an architect. My main responsibility is to keep our Social Baker suite in check, running, and also to have some kind of maintainability about it.
So my burning question, I've been reading a few articles on microservice architecture versus the typical sort of monolith or architecture, or things on monorepos versus non-monorepos, et cetera. And based on my experience with duplicated code, I was wondering just your decision-making process or your thought process around when you decide it's okay to allow duplicated code within either not necessarily one code base, but more like spread across let's say, the company's architecture. So just to give you some context, you see some code, or you're browsing around or auditing or doing something, and you see something that could be sort of converged into one or shared amongst some different places, but you decide that, no, it's okay for this to be duplicated. When you see it, just describe kind of when you see that and how you make a decision to not consolidate that code.
Okay, so that's a good question. Well, the first point would be definitely how to define the duplicate code, because the code can look the same, but actually does completely different things, or it is expected that it behaves differently, although it has underlying mechanisms the same. Well, mostly I would try to use the drive principle, although it can be misused, as most people only think that it's about code, but it's about knowledge. So, for example, if I have some kind of knowledge-based information, for example, some entity in the system or some service that's doing one thing, so that shouldn't be duplicated. But part of that service or code around it can be duplicated as long as it has similar meaning, but different approaches to how to solve this problem. For example, recently we did quite a refactoring in our front-end code base, and it was only after several already existing duplicated components and actions and reducers, all this kind of stuff that our front-endists use, were already created, because you can't really remove the duplication and create a new abstractions on top of it unless you know what can be merged together as a one kind of code or one kind of abstraction.
Now, because the way I think about it is more like a cost versus risk thing, and when I say cost, I sort of mean like how much time it takes. And sometimes I sit and question, I'm having to update, let's say we abstract something out into NPM package. And it seems like there's sometimes where it seems like it takes more effort to update, and there's more risk in updating an NPM package than there is in just leaving the code alone. Does that ever come into your decision-making process?
Well, when you're talking about extracting the whole code to, for example, package, there is also maintenance with package and updating, bumping versions, bumping transient dependencies, and that takes a lot of time, but that's where the automation comes in. So as long as you have this set up, it shouldn't really be a problem. But it's true that sometimes if the package is not real well used, or the project is a lot of versions behind the current version, it can be a pain, definitely, but it's worth the effort as long as you know that the project will keep growing or the work on it will keep continuing, because you have to measure effects on dead projects or the ones that are in the maintenance differently than on the ones that they are actively developed.
Okay, so I don't think about much because I know we're still doing a bit of some automation around deployments around here. So I didn't think it does get a lot easier if you've got some of the CID, CDE pipelines for your package auditing and stuff. So that helps out quite a lot. I guess the last thing maybe in this context would just be the decision perhaps around, or what has to be in place to abstract some duplication to another service as opposed to just another library. Have we had any instances where we've done that?
Yeah, we definitely did. The reason behind it is usually when you want to extract not the code, but some kind of, I would say, like functionality that encapsulates some kind of domain knowledge. For instance, we moved around recently integration with third-party not really libraries, but third-party applications that we load inside our application, and it was currently it was merged in one of our services because it was like proof of concept scenario, and we realized it works. And now we want to extract it somewhere else because we are going to use more of these services inside of our service, but it has a lot of functionality, which, although it is shared somewhere, like single sign-ons and session management and something like this, that is already present in that service where it was firstly developed, but it has a different use case for it. So we try to extract it somewhere else because it will provide us, for example, with better state management, with better management of the dependencies, the accounts that are connected to it.
Nice. Yeah, it's never like a solid right answer, you know. So yeah, everything has to be taken in consideration. Yeah, I think that's everything. I've just been something that I've been trying to read about and understand, like how to make that decision, because I guess it's all around a case-by-case basis. So if you have any questions or any comments on this topic, you know, feel free to leave any comments below. And yeah, thank you for stopping by and having the chat with me.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Thanks.